Well, hi, everybody. This is crazy. I am trying to set this up so that I can film for you. And the crazy thing is that I'm sitting in a location where there's a tree outside my window and it's afternoon sun. And so the tree is blowing in the wind and the sun is shifting. So I don't know what this is going to turn out like. But anyway, also, I have my glasses, my reading glasses, but I can't use them because when I put them on, I get this crazy reflection, and I'm still learning how to do YouTube, so I don't really know how to get rid of it. I keep asking for guidance, and I'm not getting anywhere. So I'm just going to do it the way that I feel like I can do it. Um, anyway, this is what I want to talk with you about today. I know that at times I've seemed like I'm a little bit morbid, but I like to think about the future. And, at my age right now, I think about the future a lot. I think about what it's going to be like when I'm even older. I mean, I'm 72 and I'm happy and I'm vibrant and all that kind of stuff. Um, but, life is life. And so I believe in being prepared. Now, a few years ago, when I was blogging steadily on my website, when blogging was more of a thing, it comes and goes, I had asked all my friends on Facebook who are like older if they would tell me what their top fears are about being older. What are they afraid of? What grips them the most? And it was really gratifying. I'm telling you, I got so many good answers. Um, and I saved them. I copied and pasted that into a Google Doc. Well, that was probably about 5 years ago. And just recently, I was going through my Google Docs and I was cleaning everything up because, you get so many stray documents, you don't even know what you have anymore if you're like me. Anyway, I came across this document that had everybody's answers about what they fear the most about getting older on it. And so I went through and I kind of organized it in such a way that I could see what were the things that were kind of like in common? What were the things that were the most that were mentioned the most? Um, and so I looked for commonalities, and I came up with something that I think you might find interesting. I'm calling this, the five things that people fear the most about getting older. And then I'm going to try and come up with some ideas for what you might do, to counter those fears. Not like I'm anybody smart. I'm not a therapist or anything, but I have some ideas. So let me just tell you what the first fear is that was most commonly mentioned in my little survey. The first thing that everybody was worried about was, what if I end up alone? Well, I'm telling you, you might. I'm I'm afraid of that too, especially because in my childhood, I was like in a dysfunctional family. I've mentioned that before. You probably heard me talk about it a little bit. Um, my parents did the best they could, but they were kind of messed up. They were under a lot of pressure, and my dad drank and he beat us. So my mom was really worried about keeping us all sort of safe to the extent that she could. And she told us, to try and be good so that he wouldn't get mad. And I grew up, like learning how to react to other people. So much so that I am kind of like inept about being on my own. I really am. I'm afraid of it. So I'm doing things now to make sure that when I am on my own, if it happens that way, and I'm a woman and I'm younger than my husband, so, chances are I'll be alone. And in my family, the women live a long time. So my mom made it to almost 97. And I'm in better health than she was. Anyway, so yes, you may end up alone. And if you're afraid of that, which some people are, plan for it now. It takes a long time to make friends, I think. And so get involved in activities where you can work side by side with other people. And, like I'm an old HR person, interview them without them even knowing it. Work side by side in that pottery class and try to decide if there's somebody in there that you want to see more often. Um, I have a new friend that I'm sort of like vetting to see if we're going to be long term friends. I mean, it's 50-50. It's up to her too. But I invited her to go either to my book club with me or to this political gathering that I go to. And so I'm trying to find a way that she and I can hang together and learn more about each other and in a natural kind of a setting. So things are like they develop organically. Anyway, so you may end up alone, but that's what I would suggest is plan for it now. Another thing that I'm doing as a formerly enmeshed codependent person is I'm learning how to cook for myself. I'm learning what I like. I'm learning to establish boundaries. I'm in therapy, frankly. This therapist told me she said, are you sure you're going to be okay? And I said, no. And she said, well, pack your parachute now. Good idea. So I'm in pack your parachute therapy, and I'll let you know what I learn. Anyway, so plan for the future. Okay, the second thing is that they feared the most was, what if my body won't let me do the things that I want it to do? And yeah, it won't. I'm sorry to say it, but we are mortal, and we will fall apart. Certain parts of you are probably already falling apart now. It's humbling. But in some ways, it's not quite as horrible as we thought, because in our youth, we think that, to maybe lose sight in one eye or to have mobility problems or whatever would be the worst possible thing we could possibly think of. And then you get older and you see people, frankly, dying. You see a lot worse. And you're just happy to get up in the morning. You're just happy to wake up another day. And life is good because you can read, you can garden, you can go outside, you can look at the sunset. You're just happy to be alive. So their second greatest fear was a fear of loss of mobility, what if my body won't let me do the things that I love? And that will be hard. But prepare yourself. It could possibly happen. My husband has played tennis for like 60 years. Actually, more than that. He's 79 right now. And right now, he plays a very gentle form of tennis 3 times a week for about a half hour. That's all. He goes down to our tennis club and he plays tennis with his friends. And this is the way that he has men friends. It's a precious thing for a man to have friends. They don't make friends as easily as women do, but they need them just as much, I think. So for Bill to have his friends down at the tennis court, that's really, really precious. We were talking about it the other day, like what happens if you can't play tennis anymore? He said, those guys are my friends now no matter what. I think I would just go down and sit there and watch them play and talk to them. And I thought, that's really preparing for the future. That's beautiful. So if he can't play tennis, he's still going to be a part of tennis and be a part of those friends. So I keep saying this, plan, plan, plan. Think of the future. All right, what's the third thing? I'm looking at my phone. Okay, what if I run out of purpose? Retirement, empty nest. Man, that is a big deal. My sister was talking with me a couple days ago about the fact that her kind of late to launch single child, her one child, who's taken a long time to mature, has found someone who looks like a keeper. And so she is not a part of her son's life as much anymore. And she's relieved because she's happy for him, of course. But she's also grieving. I have felt the same way. My son and his wife have involved us, Bill and I, very, very much in the helping to rear their little kids. The kids are 13 and 15 now, but when they were born, we provided childcare. We provided childcare for them for like their first 5 years. And after that, they only live a half hour away, so we're very connected to them. But every now and then when I'm dropping them off from a sleepover, which they don't do that much anymore because they're teenagers, I drive away and I feel like Life is where they are in their house. Life is not where I'm going to my house. This old woman living with this old man. We don't have as much time ahead of us as my son does or his kids do. Sometimes there's a feeling of grief, a feeling of like sadness over your mortality. And I have learned that instead of focusing on that when I drive away, I think about how excited I am to be able to get back to something I was doing before they came over. I think about what I'm excited about in my own life, which in my case is like writing. I like to garden. Um, Trying to think about what I want to do when I get back home after dropping them off. This has been very helpful to me. It's like the grief and the feeling of being mortal and everything else is still in the background, but I don't give it that much air. I have learned that I can actually kind of shove it aside. It's healthy. It works. I feel better. And I'm training myself not to get that sad feeling when I drop them off. It's like a minor empty nest syndrome every time I do it, but I'm learning to deal with it. So, lack of purpose. I am not sure what to tell you about lack of purpose in your life. If you fear that you are going to have a lack of purpose in your life, that there won't be any reason for you to get out of bed, start thinking about it now before it becomes a real big problem. If it is a problem, you know the usual things they tell you to do. Get involved, do some volunteering. There are civic organizations where people can use your help. Find a reason to feel like you are contributing to the world at this point. Now, I'll tell you another thing. Maybe you don't have to have a sense of purpose. Maybe people make you feel like you do, and you have earned the right to sit on the couch or go for a bike ride or watch TV or read a book or whatever. Maybe you don't have to be of service to humanity. If you're comfortable with that, don't worry about it. You don't need a sense of purpose unless you do. Sometimes we make too much of that, but you made your contribution, I'm assuming, by this time. So don't be afraid to be a little selfish, okay? Okay, number 4, what if I become a burden or don't have enough money? Oh, yeah, well, good chance good chance of that. I'm sorry. There is a good chance that you're going to run out of money or be a burden. Start planning for it now. Um, One of the things I wanted to do in time for this video, although I didn't find too much, but I was looking for ways for older sedentary older people to make money. I was asking Google, like how can people make money in old age if they aren't that physical? Maybe they don't have very many tech skills, whatever, just like how could we make a little tiny bit of money, extra money on the side? Because that is really the answer. You maybe can't go back to work, but you can create a couple of little income streams. And there were things like, in your neighborhood, you could pet sit, or you could watch somebody's house while they go on vacation, or you could just make yourself available for that kind of thing. But also, I looked online and I found out that there are some other jobs available. Um, Now that there's so much, tech out there, there are a lot of other jobs available now that you can do from your house, like customer service. That might be sort of annoying, but you could get into it. You're walking around your house, you got a little headset on, and you're doing customer service. I remember when Mom lived with me, she was on oxygen, and I had to call the oxygen people sometimes. I learned that I could call them, like if I called them at night, like around 7 or 8 o'clock Pacific, where I was. A lot of times I'd get somebody in Utah who was still on the line or, still working at 10 o'clock at night their time. It was a real easy time to be able to communicate with those guys instead of having to wait online for 45 minutes during their busy time. Call them at night. But somebody's working. And this somebody, I would often find, was a person who was like at her house. Maybe she just put the kids to bed. You could find this kind of stuff out about them. And it gave me an insight into the kinds of jobs that were available just to do from your house. Another thing that I saw, and I had never heard of this before, was that for lawyers to prepare for trial, there are certain online services where they can submit their work, their arguments to a mock jury, and the mock jurors will read their arguments and then offer their opinions as to whether or not they've made their case. Um, I think you can find this kind of a job by doing going Google mock juror and see where you get. Anyway, it's just I'm just giving you a lead. But I looked into it, and it's like for a couple of hours of work, you could get $30, $50, you know? It's just a little income stream. You're going to be reading anyway. Might as well, and you can do it from home. Okay? So that was number four. What if I become a burden or don't have enough money? Let me see what other kinds of ideas I had about that. Saving what you can, downsizing if needed, having conversations early with your family, and planning instead of catastrophizing. Um, and then the fifth thing is, what if life is mostly behind me? Some people were sad about the trips that they would never take, about the things they would never accomplish in their lives. Um, for me, I had three things that I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to learn to play the piano. I wanted to write, to live the life of an author. And I wanted to learn to speak Spanish. I never learned Spanish. I'm good at foreign languages, but unless you're around people or you have a reason to really practice it every day, it's a hard thing to learn just doing it on your own without any context. So I don't know that I'll ever learn that. And it's just something I just have to give up the dream of. Um, as far as piano, I took lessons for a couple of years and I learned how to play a few songs and I liked it. It was fun. I still have my keyboard in the living room. Um, but from writing so much, my right hand and wrist and everything, it's kind of trashed. And I don't have any, it's bandwidth when it's in your head, but when it's your physical hand, I don't have what's left over after writing to be able to do piano as well, to practice and all that kind of stuff. I just can't. Um, I'm already waiting for a therapy appointment to try and find out how to make my hand and my wrist and my forearm feel better with all the writing and tech work that I do for my job. So, um, piano and Spanish are kind of going to be out. I also can't golf very much anymore. I mean, I really don't golf at all. It takes a lot of effort to be good at golfing, and I don't have the time and I don't have the backbone anymore. My spine would give out. Those are real things. You have to give up certain dreams, but you can make other dreams, and you can also enjoy celebrating what you have done. Um, you have been on this planet for this many years. Don't forget about the accomplishments that you have, accomplished. Think about the things that you've done and take pride in that. And then try to find something small to do, something that you can do that'll give you satisfaction. I mentioned that I'm learning how to cook. Somehow, in all my years of working, I managed to evade that responsibility. Either I had a husband who liked to cook, or I don't know. For a while, my son lived with his dad, so I didn't have to cook for him. And I always came home late, and they were able to feed themselves. So I honestly never learned how to cook. Some of my friends say I'm never going to cook again because all those years that I had to make dinner, do all the meal planning and everything, I never did that. That is a very small thing, a very domestic, tiny thing that I'm excited about learning how to do. So I am right now in the process of finding easy recipes so that I can become a decent cook and possibly cooking for myself at some point. I want to honor my existence on earth by not eating, cereal over the sink in my old age. So that's an accomplishment. So look forward to the things that you can still do. Pick out something new that you hadn't thought of. Maybe you're not going to climb Mount Everest, but maybe you can learn some new recipes. All right, I think that was everything. Let me check my notes here. Well, anyway, that was something that I thought was really interesting, was the 5 major fears that people had about getting older. And I don't know that I've been any help to you, making you aware of them or coming up with some counter programming, but possibly I have, and at least maybe just being aware that might help you a little bit to prepare for it and to maybe not be so afraid of it because everybody goes through it. So, anyway, I hope that was helpful, and let me know in the comments if you have any other thoughts. And always, it's helpful if you subscribe to my station or to my channel. I really appreciate that. So, anyway, it's good talking with you, and I'll see you next Thursday.